Look, most Fusion tutorials teach you a bunch of disconnected techniques and leave you wondering, now what? Not this one. We're building an actual project, a fully animated charging battery. And every node, every keyframe, every connection serves the final result. This is learning Fusion the way it should be taught, through real creative work.
Okay, let's get started. Right-click in the media pool and create a new timeline. Right-click again in the media pool and select New Fusion Composition. Set the duration to 10 seconds, then press Create. Bring your Fusion composition into the timeline and place the playhead over the Fusion clip. Then switch to the Fusion page. Now, the first thing we're going to do is create a background node. The background node is used to bring in the resolution of our project. Press Shift plus space, search for background, and press Add. Connect the output of the background node to Media Out. The Media Out node is used to bring whatever we create in Fusion back to the edit page. Now go to the inspector, change the background type to a 4-corner gradient, and let's change the top left corner to a dark bluish color. Press OK. Now, if we go back to the edit page, we can see that our background is showing up on the timeline. Now, let's go back to the Fusion page, and we can also bring in another background through the shortcut right here. Let's bring in the background node. You can drag it onto the node area and also bring in a merge. Now, we're going to put our merge between the background and the media out by holding Shift and dragging in between the connections. And now, we're going to take the output of our background and connect it onto the foreground input of the merge. Let's change the color to blue. And now let's bring in a rectangle mask. Press Shift plus space and search for rectangle and add it. And as we can see, a rectangle mask has been made. You can hold the edges of the rectangle and adjust it like this to make your shape, or you can use the controls. Let's increase the corner radius a bit. Let's change the background to a gradient, and let's make the first color a dark blue. Select the handles of the gradient and then adjust it like this. And now let's make the second color a lighter shade of blue. Now let's add a bevel effect. I'm going to use a plugin for this. This will be the only plugin we use in this tutorial, and I'll leave a free download link in the description. Place the bevel node between the background and the merge. This creates the bevel effect on our battery. Let me zoom in a little so we can see it better. I'll reduce the edge width and adjust the lighting angle. Feel free to play around with these settings until you get a look you like. Now I'm simply going to copy these 3 nodes and paste them over here. And I'm going to take the output of the last node and connect it to the output of the previous bevel node. And this will create another merge node. This is another way in which you can add a merge. Connect the output of the last node to the output of the previous node and create a merge. Now let's continue. Now let's adjust the rectangle like this and then put it over here. Let's also adjust the gradient. And if we take a closer look over here, we can see that the second rectangle is sitting on top of the first one, and we want it to be sitting behind it to sell the illusion. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to click on the merge and press Command plus T. This will switch the background and foreground inputs. Remember, the green input is the foreground and the yellow input is the background. So whatever is in the green input will be on top, and whatever is in the yellow input will be on the bottom. Now, highlight all your nodes and press Shift plus space, and search for Underlay node. This will create an underlay that will help us organize our nodes. We can rename the underlay to stay better organized. And let's move it on to the right because what we're about to build, we want it to go under the battery cell. We're going to build our charging cable, and to sell the illusion of the connection, we want them to be under the battery cell. We're going to disconnect our battery for now so that we have a clean working plate. Let's create another background node, and let's change the color to gray. Select the rectangle, and let's shape our charging head. We are going to copy our bevel node and paste it right over here to give our charging head a more realistic look. Let's adjust the edge width. And let's copy it over like this and create a second shape. And now let's connect another background. And this time, let's make it white. And let's bring in another rectangle node, and we are going to make our charging pins. Let's make it thin like this. Now, we could copy this several times and paste it to create other charging pins, but I'm going to do something different. Select the background node, press Shift plus space, and search for Duplicate, and bring in a duplicate node. In the duplicate node, if we move the y-axis, we can see that our white line is being duplicated. Now, we can increase the number of duplicates. Let's make it 5. And if we adjust the y offset, we now have our charging pins. Select the rectangle and adjust the position of the charging pins. And now let's bring in another background node, connect it to the previous merge, and let's make its color white. And this time we are going to use a polygon mask. And with the polygon mask, we are going to draw our charging symbol, the Thunderbolt charging symbol. Now let's bring in another background. Give it a gray color. And now we're going to use the polygon again to draw a charging cable. We draw it by simply making points like this. And after you've made your points, increase the border width like that. And we are going to copy our bevel again to give our charging cable a more realistic look. And let's paste it over there. Let's adjust the border width and the light angle. Let's smoothen out the edges of our polygon. Select one of the points on the polygon and press Shift plus A to select all the points, and then Shift plus S to smoothen it out. Now let's move it behind the charging head by selecting the merge and pressing Command plus T. Go to your polygon shapes and right-click to remove the polygon line. Now select everything, select the nodes of our charging cable, and press Command plus G to create a group. This is another organization structure that we can use to help keep our nodes clean. And now, reconnect the battery cell so that we can quickly align the charging cable. If we go to our main merge node, we can move the whole thing because we built them all on one node tree. So we can move them all together. But we are not going to use the merge to move them, so let me quickly reset this. And I'm going to bring in a transform node. Press Shift plus space and search for transform. And place it between the merge and the group. And if we move the center X, we can see everything is moving. And if we resize it, we can resize it and rotate it. Now let me reset all these positions. To create more charging cables, we can simply copy this group, paste it, and simply reconnect it back to our main node tree. And just like that, we have 2 cables. But I'm going to show you a different method for this. I am going to copy this transform node 5 times. And I'm going to take the output of the group and input it to all the transforms. You can use the output of a single node multiple times in Fusion, and every time this creates an instance of the group. I'm going to disconnect this transform from the merge and add a multi-merge node. And I'm going to connect all the transforms to the multi-merge node and connect the output of the multi-merge node to the merge of our main node tree. Now, if we move the center of each of these transforms, we can see that they are all instances of our group. Now, at this point, you might notice that playback is starting to slow down. To improve playback, go to Playback, Timeline Playback Resolution, and change it from full to half or quarter. You can also temporarily disconnect any nodes you're not working on. This reduces the number of nodes Fusion has to process and can make playback much smoother. For now, I'm going to leave only a single transform node connected, and we'll animate that first. We're going to animate backwards, so we're going to go to frame 100 and start on this frame and put the cable where we want it to end, and click a keyframe on center and angle. Now go back to frame 0 and change the angle to 90 degrees and move it down just outside of view. And now if we play it back, we can see that it's animating back to the position where we started. But the movement is just a straight linear movement, which is boring. So we're going to select the path of the transform and simply pull it out like this. We can pull it in different directions and our charging cable will follow this path that we made. Now select one of the points, press Shift plus A to select them all, and then Shift plus S to smooth them out. And if we press play, we can see that our animation now follows the path. Open your spline editor. Let's add another keyframe around frame 30 on center. Select your transform. For now, let's turn off the angle. And press this arrow to see a full view of your keyframes. Let's make this spline editor bigger, like that. Press in an empty space to make sure you're in the spline editor, and press Shift plus A to select everything, and then press S to smoothen everything out. Now I'm going to make this shape right here with the splines. This is just to smoothen the animation. Now select the angle, press Shift plus A to select all your keyframes, and S to smoothen them out. And now we don't want it to start rotating from frame 0, so I'm going to select both the keyframes and then select this tool, this icon with the two lines. And this will allow me to move my keyframes like this while maintaining the relationship between the two keyframes. And then close the spline editor. Now the benefit of doing it like this, all in one group and not creating multiple groups, is that we can, let me open up the group again. If I go to my charging head and I change the color of the background, it changes the background of all of my connections. Now inside our group, let's select the polygon for our charging cable and go to frame 95, set a keyframe, and then go to frame 100 and set another keyframe. And now let's go back to frame 100 and let's straighten out our points. And now it will create this animation of the charging cable being tugged from frame 95 to 100. And now I'm going to speed run through the rest of the animations. Basically, you just do the same thing. Connect another transform node and do the same thing, and simply change the path of your animation to get different animations. And let's quickly create an underlay for all our transforms, and let's rename it. And let's change the color of our underlay. And now I'm going to add this flow of electricity bars thing. I'm simply going to add a text node and connect it right here in the group. And I'm just going to type in a couple of dashes like that. Let me disconnect the battery for now, and let me also disconnect this from the main node flow. Press 2 on the multi-merge node, and now we see the multi-merge, but it's not part of the main flow. So even though we are working on it, it does not affect the performance of the playback because it's not connected to the media out. Now add a mask to your text node, a rectangle mask, and adjust it like this. Increase the soft edge. And let's also increase the tracking. Go to Layout, change from point to path and plot points along your charging cable like this. You can use the Bezier handles to adjust your points. And now go to Shading and change the appearance to Border Fill. Now we will see these blocks. You can use Extent Horizontal and Extent Vertical to get your desired shape. And inside Layout, we can use the Position on Path control to animate our points and move them forward and backwards like this. Go to Frame 100 and move the lines outside of view. Then set a keyframe, and then go to the end of the composition and bring them in. Now go to the Spline tool and simply create a curve like this. Let's come back to our polygon that controls our charging cable and adjust it like this. And now let's change the color of our lines to a light blue color. And let's add a soft glow to it. Add a glow node and adjust its parameters until you get the look you want. Go to Settings of the text and turn on Motion Blur and increase the quality to 6. I don't like the shade of blue, so I will change it a bit and make a different shade of blue and press OK. Now we're done with that section. Now let's go back to our battery and also animate it. Go to this merge and bring it into the viewer by pressing 2. Let's increase the space on our underlay so that we have some space to work with. Now let's bring another background node and connect it to the merge. Let's bring this merge into the viewer. And let's change the color to blue. We're going to make the charging liquid, so let's give it a water blue color. And let's copy the rectangle that we used for the battery, and let's copy it to mask the background so that it's the same shape and size. But you see the problem here. When we move it, it moves outside of the battery. Now how do we solve that? We are going to copy this rectangle again and paste it right here. And we're going to use it to mask the merge node. Now anything that's connected to this merge node will stay inside of that rectangle. Now we can simply animate it. Let's go to frame 100, move the rectangle out of frame, and set a keyframe on center. Move forward a few frames, move it up and set a keyframe, move forward again and make another keyframe, and move it all the way up and make another keyframe. Now we want it to look like water, a water surface, so press Shift plus space and search for waviness. Add the waviness node between the background and the merge and change its type from vertical to horizontal. Now, if we move it like this, we see it has this water effect. We can adjust the scale and strength to make the water move differently. Now go to the Spline tool, press Command plus A to select all your keyframes, and S to smooth them out. And then adjust your spline curve like this. Close the spline editor. Copy this entire node tree we just made, and paste it again over here. We are going to make a second layer of water behind it. I just think it looks good. Now you're going to go to all the keyframes of the first layer of water and move them down slightly. Change the color of the first background to a darker shade of blue and simply go to the points of all the keyframes and adjust it. And lower the blend to about 0.37. And now our water animation is complete. And now let's bring our media out back into the viewer and simply reconnect all our elements to the main flow like this. And now go back to the Edit page, and in the Effects panel, search for Text. And let's add a Text Plus, and extend it to fill our entire Fusion composition. I'm going to go to the part of the composition where I want the charging cables to connect to our battery. And I'm going to cut our text layer right there by pressing Command+B. I'm going to create a cut right there. And now I'm going to go to the second half of our text clip, and in the text field, I am going to right-click and select Expression. And I am going to paste an expression here. I will link the expression in the description. What this expression basically does is count from 0% to 100%. And you can adjust the text properties like this. And go to your first text clip and make the same text properties and then set it to 0%. Customize this effect with some overlays and sound effects, and you should get something that looks like this.